Have you ever wondered what a single idea could do for your life? Maybe it's something you've been looking for, or maybe it's something you didn't even know you needed. At Paper Napkin Wisdom, our newsletter delivers small, actionable ideas that lead to big results. Don't miss out. Sign up now at papernapkinwisdom.com.
Welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom, where we share pearls of wisdom shared by some of the world's top entrepreneurs, leaders, and difference makers. Here's your host, Govind Jayaraman.
Hi, I'm Govind Jayaraman, and this is Paper Napkin Wisdom, episode 232. You know, sometimes it only takes one idea, one unexpected moment of insight to shift everything. And when you allow yourself to hear something in a new way, well, things start to change, don't they? In this episode, I invite you to listen closely, not just with your ears, but with the part of you that knows you're here to grow. Because what my guest shares today may already be unlocking something important inside you. I'm speaking with Hristo Arakliev, co-founder of Hyperzone, and someone who's helped countless brands scale on Amazon. But today, the breakthrough isn't about a platform, it's about something deeper. Something that speaks to how and who you are becoming. You might already be wondering about what shift could happen if you started acting like the person you're meant to become. And as you follow that question, you'll notice how easy it is to begin thinking about what your next bold step might be. Because in this conversation, Hristo doesn't just tell us about what worked for him. He invites us to explore how identity and intention are already shaping our results. And once you begin to see your choices through that lens, it's hard not to grow. So take a deep breath. Imagine what becomes possible when your actions align with the version of yourself you know is waiting. And as that becomes clearer, just allow yourself to write it down, maybe on a napkin, and share it with the world using the hashtag #PaperNapkinWisdom. Let's dive in. Hristo Arakliev, welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom. I'm excited to have you here with me today.
Thank you for having me, Govind.
So you shared, well, first of all, I want to spoiler alert. You coached me on how to say your name, Hristo. I'm really glad that you did. There's a really cool story that you were telling me about how Bulgarian and Sanskrit share an alphabet and many, many words. That's something I'm going to dive into. But Hristo, I'm so happy to have you here. And thank you for teaching me how to say your name properly and being patient.
You're welcome.
All right. So you shared with me a fascinating napkin on a bright orange napkin, which is even more interesting to me. Every action you take should reflect the person you believe you are, as life isn't about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself, one bold step at a time. Why did you share that with me?
Well, honestly, this quote represents how I've approached every challenge in my life and who I am, in a sense. As too many people, wait to find themselves as if their identity is hidden somewhere, waiting to be discovered. And I believe we are all sculptors of our own identity. We build it with every decision, every action, and every bold move we make. So, when I started my company, Hyperzone, I didn't really have all the answers. I wasn't waiting to become the leader of a 40-plus person agency. I stepped into that role, acted like the COO I believed I was, and made it real. It's the same in sports, in music, in business, in personal growth. The moment you own the identity you aspire to, you start taking action that make it a reality.
Yeah. So, but how did you get that vision, Hristo? I mean, I think it's easy to say that, but don't you have to start to build that vision for yourself? Where did that come from?
True. I kind of always been that person, since I was a little kid. I was always very stubborn, so I refused to lose. In a sense, this was a big trait of who I was as a kid. Like, I just refused to lose. So if I ever lost in a video game or just any other game outside with the kids or with my parents or with any kind of relatives, I would say one more. And at some point, after repeating certain action, sometimes hundreds of times, I got to a point where I always became better than the people I was playing with or having the activity with. So in a sense, I believe to an extent it is a character trait, but of course, I believe that you can you can learn it if you have the drive. I believe the drive is what's really important, and also not giving up. You need to have this open growth mentality where whatever you make is like up to you, and you can always become better compared to just sitting and waiting or hoping that you're going to be better than the rest.
Yeah. And let me you talked about drive, but what really I thought was interesting was you talked about it, and I think this is authentic to who you are. You said refuse to lose. You didn't say I failed, it didn't work, I got discouraged. It's
Yeah.
almost like you just saw, oh, that didn't work, so I wanted to try again, go again, let's go again, let's go again, let's go again.
Exactly.
And
So
and
losing was not an option. It was not
yeah,
an option for
but did you again, for you it was a character trait, right? But have there been times for you where you lost track of that,
What
where
do you mean? What do you mean
maybe
track?
meaning that it didn't work out and you got discouraged, or it didn't work out and you felt
Yeah.
like you failed, like what
Yeah.
so
Honestly, honestly, for me, it happened with aging.
yeah
Kind of every year, every next year, I have kind of been going further from the kids I used to be, in a sense that I still make bold moves, but I'm not as fanatic about it as I used to be. So I guess it's growing up, settling down in a sense. But yeah, I've definitely had times where it was really hitting me hard, and I wouldn't say it was. No, it was actually based on I remember now. It was the worst that I've been. It was last year. It happened after a deal I lost. That was, I was really, really sure that I'm gonna get, and I was 100% sure that I'm getting it. And it cost me months of my life. It was a very cool project, very innovative. It was a tech innovation, and all of a sudden, it all crumbled down. And I couldn't do anything about it. It was out of hands, out of scope, and I felt so helpless because I was already seeing the future and how this project is a $1 billion company and everything is working out amazingly well. And all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, everything just stumbled apart and crushed. So what happened is that for a few months, I really didn't feel like myself. I was like, I was trying to do things, but I was kind of depressed. Maybe not as depressed as many people around the world are, but definitely for my notion of depressed, I've never felt worse in my life, and I was um, because it felt like one of those. You know how you have 5 chances of making something really big,
yeah
uh, you know, along your life, and I was really sure this is one of those. This is one of those chances to really make a difference and make something that changes a lot of people's lives. And it was not a great feeling, and it took me probably 6 months to properly handle that. But the thing is, you just need, even if that happens to you, you believe that you've lost the perfect project. I think life is long enough, and you should always, you should never lose hope. First of all, like seriously, it sounds like such a cliche, but you should never ever lose hope, because if you are prepared to get a future, chance, opportunity, you need to be in a state that other people will trust you with it, and you can actually do the best out of it. So the only way to do that is if you improve yourself day after day after day after day after day after day. And I really believe luck is not something super serendipitous, because even if you're super lucky, you kind of need to be prepared for that luck. So imagine someone comes tomorrow and he offers you to be, um, on the front of a hedge fund. But if you don't know anything about, you know, about managing a hedge fund, well, you're probably not the best fit. But then, even if throughout your life or past few years, whatever, if you constantly educate yourself on various topics, and you keep yourself positive, and you're always, uh, you genuinely interested in people. I think that's very, very important, and not just looking to strike a deal and be looking at people with dollar signs in your eyes, because this is not how it works. You need to be an actual great human being that people love to be around, and you're prepared, like educated. You're ready to take on that luck. I think luck can hit you multiple times in your lifetime.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to go back to something you said. You know, you said this thing is sometimes people believe that they have five big chances to do something really big and really pivot their lives. Or another way of thinking about it, people use the six shooter idea, a revolver with six bullets in it.
Yeah.
You have six silver bullets. You only have six silver bullets. But there's something neat about your napkin. It's one bold step at a time. And I think the realization in that napkin is that in the power of that statement, it's about creating yourself one bold step at a time. You're the silver bullet. You're unlimited. You've got all the bullets you have as long as you've got another step. And you talked about that with hope. Isn't that true?
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely.
Right. And if you lose sight of that, then things start to feel limited. But if you remember where the power really lies, that's what you were talking about. That never lose hope, always keep going, because those things are all related, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be resilient. That's, comes down to resilience, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I love the drive, and I love this idea of every action should reflect the person you believe you are, right? So when you're creating yourself, how important is it to align, like how do you pick? There's so much noise today, right? There's so much noise out there about, oh, there's this opportunity and there's this new thing, and in your business especially, you know, in the tech and Amazon world, there's a whole bunch of shiny objects.
Hmm.
How do you what are the tools that you use to identify the ones that are right for you? The finding yourself, in finding yourself, how do you build that belief about what's really you?
That's a great question. One thing that I believe in is not get caught up in the perfect scenario. In a sense, you know how people, especially girls, when they're growing up, they have the perfect persona for how their boyfriend should look like.
Mhm.
And many times, I think people also have the perfect idea how perfect their business should be, or exactly what they need to be doing in their lifetime. Honestly, I believe in the opposite, especially in your first 40 years, I'd say. I believe that um, you should work with the ideas that come to you. So, if there is a great idea, somebody approaches you, you have the chance to become part of something big. You should ask yourself if it's the right project, but not to an extent, is it the perfect project? Because there is no perfect project. Okay, maybe you're as lucky, and for for a limited few, there is that scenario. But in most cases, I think that you should pick a cool project that has the chance of becoming something big, and you should give it your all. No matter if maybe it doesn't sound like the right one. Is this something that I want to do? If you approach every project that you get involved in with the same, um, you know, uh, I want to find the right word,
Passion?
uh,
Is passion?
same passion that you can give to any other project, you're going to make it work. You can make an amazingly great business if you are really involved in the project and not constantly be looking for something different, because this way you can never go deep into this one project. So I'll get back to the question on how do I select those projects. Honestly, to an extent, I listen to my gut feeling. Then something very important is the team behind it. Like I say, this is the most important thing. So is it with people whom you trust, who have proven themselves, they have a proven track record, or if they're young, they're like, they're very passionate about it, and they are extremely good at what they're doing and smart. So you need to pick up the right team. This is crucial. And then it comes the timing. So there are amazing projects, but if you don't pick the right timing, they will fail. And this thing with the timing is very tricky. You need to do your research and see if there is a market fit and if there are enough people interested in that project right now for you to take on it. Because you have the two sides. One is being too early. So starting to work on a project that people are not going to be interested for another 15 years. And the other thing is being late, which is the worst case scenario, because being late usually sometimes is just with a month or two. But, it is too late. So you need to pick your battles. But again, give it your all. No matter what you're doing, give it your absolute best and then move to the next thing. One thing at a time.
I love that. And I want to reiterate these 3 steps. You said you have a gut feeling.
I do.
A, is this right for me? Right. So it's a quiet sort of gut feeling, not perfect for you, but
not
right
perfect
for you.
But right.
Is it interesting?
Exactly.
Is it drawing you in some way? Not perfect.
Exactly.
And then you look at the team behind it. Do they have the expertise? Are they, if they don't have the expertise and a proven track record, are they young and knowledgeable and highly passionate and committed?
Yeah.
Then you look at the timing, and the timing requires research. I think that's a really great 3 steps. But the overall of that is you have to be prepared to give it your all. And that's like a second gut check. After you've done that evaluation, you re-gut check, and are you willing to go all in? Because you're saying do one at a time, right? Like commit to it. Is that what you're saying? Did I get that?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to commit to it. Even if I'm not doing it like that every single time, this is the way it's always worked, not only for me, but for other people. If you give it a roll, it's going to work. And if you start a project with someone, and if they say, I can work 4 hours on that project, or I can work a limited time on it, don't do it with them. It's just not going to work out. Even if it's someone with less expertise, but he's fully dedicated, it will most probably work better than the one who is, not being as involved.
Well, because you can't teach motivation, right? Motivation has to come from the team, has to come from the people, if it's not there, it's not there. You're not going to breathe into it. I think sorry, go ahead.
You cannot teach motivation and integrity. You kind of need to find accountable people. You cannot teach people to be accountable. Maybe you can, but it's painful and it's going to cost you a lot. Just find accountable people, and everything is much smoother and easier.
Yeah, accountable, motivated, interested, engaged, energetic people. Those are things that are hard to give to people. So I think that there's a subtlety in your napkin that is really, really Amazing. And I think I may have missed it the first time, but you said one bold step at a time. It's not 10. You're not talking about making leaps of 10. You're not making
Mm.
leaps and bounds. You're taking one step and focusing on that step. Is that so that you can learn and iterate before the next one? I think there's a focus there, right?
Yeah. It means that you're involved. And at some point, when you gain experience in whatever project you're being involved, to be better than the competition, if you're, let's say, you're at the top level of whatever you're doing, sometimes to be better than your competition is less than 1%, like less than 1% difference. If you make 1% difference to how good you are compared to them, this might be everything you need. But this happens, again, one step at a time, asking yourself and the team many, many questions, getting the right answers, reiterating, checking if you got it right the first time, just diving deep into it and try to find a loophole or
Yeah.
something that could make, an exponential difference.
Yeah, I really believe in this. If you look at every athletic discipline, the difference between first place and 200th is usually less than 2%. And first place is best in the world, and 200 is who is that person? You
Exactly.
walk by them on the street and not know who they are. Um, the other thing that I think is really interesting about your paper napkin is you talk about creating yourself. It is an action in the present tense. It's not a state that you have completed. I don't think that you're also saying that you're done this work at any point.
You're never done.
Yeah, you're always doing it. And I think you have to surrender to that, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You should always go after yourself in 10 years, And if you die at some point, you've never reached the end. You should always strive for more. That's how it goes.
Yeah. So in a look, you're in an innovation space. There's a lot of tech going on in what you do, but do you think this works in traditional industry as well? So, because somewhere around the world, someone is listening to Hristo and they're saying, "Oh, yeah, I've got the small business. That's really nice for him to say, chasing billion-dollar deals, but that's not me." What would you say to that person?
I'd say it definitely works the same way, just on a smaller scale, Um, you need to provide, for smaller businesses, usually comes to great service. I really love it when, I'm a foodie, and I really love it when I stumble upon a restaurant that is not fancy, looks like nothing special. But when I look it on Google Maps, it has like 5-star reviews out of a few hundred, and I'm like, what is this place? And you go in, it's very modest, very small, and then they deliver the best meal you've ever had, and you're like, wow, I mean, this is amazing. Or even best case scenarios, they're even not on Google Maps. I mean, I've had those, and it's just such a cool feeling that, and it means these people, they're not doing it for fame or whatever. They're doing it from their heart, and they know that if they do it this way, people are going to come back tomorrow, and their tiny little plates will be filled in with happy people, which are thanking them for the amazing food. But if they're grumpy, on the other hand, and unhappy, they pass this on to whatever they're doing. If it's meal they're preparing, it's not going to taste as good if they've put all their love in it. So I'd really say that whatever business you're doing, you should really be happy about it, because there is someone out there who doesn't have anything to eat, or they didn't have the chance you have to build that small business. And if you're that motivated, turn this small business into a bigger business. It really comes down to motivation. Like, you could be motivated for $100,000 business, for $10,000, for $1 million business, $1 billion business. I really believe that people, in a sense, are born with some kind of ceiling they have, to like where they want to be. You know, somebody stops at 1 million and they're like, I'm fine. I don't need to do anything anymore. I'm happy with my life. But there are always these hungry ones that they wouldn't even stop at 100 billion. You know, they would keep pushing, changing the world. So you don't necessarily need to be one of those people, but I believe that you should be happy with who you are. And in order to be happy with who you are, you need to believe the right things about yourself. So if you are whatever person, and if that makes you happy, great. But if you believe you're a certain person and you, with your actions, you're doing the complete opposite, you'll never be happy. Because I know many people like that. They're like, I don't feel good. You know, I'm unhappy. But they're feeding themselves with the idea that they are who they're not. You know, maybe that's better than they are, whatever. But if you really want to be that person, you need to put in the effort. You need to work out, you need to work more, you need to have better sleep, you need to have better relationship, you know, it all adds up to the person that you really like to be. But don't believe you're that person if you're not, because that's going to make you unhappy. That's also one of the things that I really wanted to say with that napkin.
Yeah, well, I think that's the first line, right? Every action should reflect the person you believe you are. And I think that the way you brought that in a relatable way for even the small business owner, you know, who you believe you are, well, make your actions reflect that. If you're a hot dog stand operator and that's what you love to do, be it. Go all in. Love what you do, and everybody else will pick up on that. Everybody, and it sounds crazy, right? But it's the greatest truth for anybody who's scaled anything. That flow spot comes from acting in alignment with your beliefs, doesn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely believe that.
Yeah. And so let me ask you, do you have do you have a process where you have to be intentional about this, or for you is it just like automatic? Is it
For me, it's just automatic. Honestly, I feel so bad if I haven't done the best I can that I really cannot live with myself. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, I feel so bad if I skip a single workout or if I've paid less attention to an important project and stuff like that. You know, it takes a toll on me. I mean, I just feel terrible until I do it. You know, and then I do it, and I'm like, whew,
good? Yeah.
that's
But,
better.
but there are other people who need to remind themselves, remind themselves of maybe who they're becoming. Maybe they're in a rut. Maybe they're in a bad place. They're in that depression place that you were in. They have to remind themselves who they really are. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? For people who have to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But yeah, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
you go ahead. You go ahead. You first.
I want to talk about resilience. You know, this is, I think, the main topic. And I want to say that to me, resilience is not just about surviving adversity. It's about thriving because of it. You know, every major challenge in my life has made me stronger in a sense. I want to share a story here. Take my back surgery 2 years ago, for example. Doctors told me your life will change. You won't be able to lift more than 5 pounds. I was like, oh my God, my baby is more than 5 pounds. What am I gonna do? That didn't sit well with me at all. I was like, I don't believe that. You know, I told him, don't even talk to me. I come here on your table to become better, to feel better, and not to become a handicapped person. And in 2 months after the surgery, I was actually lifting more than before in the gym. And not because I was reckless, but because I really refused to let circumstances define my limits. And I've always been wired this way, whether it was pushing through brutal sports training, stepping onto a stage as a vocalist or a speaker, or launching Hyperzone from the ground up. I've learned that when life pushes, you push back harder. I believe that's resilience. But I would even take it one step further. I believe in anti-fragility. Probably familiar with that concept from Nassim Taleb.
Yep.
Because resilience means you withstand shocks and stay the same, but anti-fragility means you get stronger because of those shocks. That's exactly how I operate, and it's how I build Hyperzone as well. Most businesses try to avoid challenges. I don't think that's the right way to go. As, for example, in my company, Hyperzone, we seek them out and turn them into a competitive advantage. Amazon, for example, it changes its algorithm all the time. We adapt faster than the competition. Supply chain crisis, we find better solutions. Anti-fragility isn't just about surviving the chaos. It's about using it to become untouchable. And I'd say that's what people should aim for.
I love it. I love it. And I think the idea, you can apply that in every part of your life. In weight training, it's progressive overload, continuing to overload your system, overload your body, lift heavier, lift more, so that you can build more strength. And there's a lot of research that is now becoming more popularized around how you can really age much healthier in a much healthier way by maintaining resistance training and
lifting
progressive
weights.
Overload into your 50s, 60s, and 70s. So that's something that I embrace as well. I love your story, Hristo, and I'm really grateful
Thank
that you shared it with me. Every paper napkin now, we end in honor of a concept that was shared with us in our first season, our early episodes. And that concept was what you appreciate appreciates. When you appreciate something, it appreciates in value. So we've been doing something called shoutouts at the end of every Paper Napkin Wisdom episode. Someone or something that has been important to you that you wanted to pay some gratitude, some appreciation toward.
Okay.
What would you like to shout out today?
I'd like to share with you that my wife, Radi, she has always been the light at the end of the tunnel, and I couldn't love her more than I do, as she has always been super understanding, and she always listens to me, even when it's hard, even when she doesn't agree with me. And at the end, we always come to an agreement and be able to live in harmony. And I think that's very important. You should talk a lot with your loved ones, listen actively, and try to figure out what's the best way to move forward. Yeah. No matter how hard it is, no matter how hard and how difficult. Yeah.
You know what's amazing about that is I know how true that is, because your entire demeanor changed when you started to talk about her. So I'm grateful that you shared that. Thank you, Hristo. I'm grateful that you visited with me today.
Thank you.
What a powerful conversation with Hristo Arakliev. And if you're like me, something he said is probably still echoing in the back of your mind. Every action you take should reflect the person you believe you are. Life isn't about finding yourself. It is about creating yourself, one bold step at a time. And maybe now you're starting to notice how that one idea can shift the way you see everything, from the way you lead to the way you live. It's easy to imagine what becomes possible when each step you take builds the version that you already know is inside, waiting to be expressed more fully. You don't need to wait to become someone. You're already in the process of creating that person. When your actions match your beliefs about who you are becoming, momentum builds naturally. You may have already realized that the bold step you've been hesitating on is the one that creates clarity. Every business breakthrough mirrors a personal breakthrough. When you shift internally, the results follow. And it's not about working harder, it's about consistently being aligned with your higher self. And as you consider which one of these resonates most deeply right now, you might find one takeaway that stands out more than the others. That's usually the one that's calling you forward. So now, perhaps you're ready to take that small but meaningful step. You can simply write down that insight, that shift, that bold action on a napkin and share it using paper napkin wisdom. Because sometimes the smallest written words unlock the biggest inner transformations. And if this stirred something inside you, allow yourself to stay connected. You may choose to subscribe to Paper Napkin Wisdom. Maybe you'll share this episode with someone who's ready to create a bolder version of themselves. You could even leave a review, knowing your words will guide someone else to their next insight. Until next time, I'm Govind Jayaraman, and whether you're ready to make the leap or just feel the edge of something new, you're already on the right path. Remember, the future isn't waiting to be found, it's waiting to be created, one bold step at a time. Make it a great day.